Okay, we are going to continue on with setting up the scene with some. We're going to add some lights, add a camera, and then some animation, whether we animate the camera or the logo or whatever. We're going to start with adding lights, but before we do, we want to add something for the lights to reflect off of besides the logo, right? So if we go back to the whalers animation here, we have the logo, and then we have like a plane down here that we put some ice material on, and then just a spotlight shining down on that. So let's add a plane to our scene. I'm going to close this folder up, and I'm going to click and hold on this cube and go to plane, and we'll throw it right in the middle of the scene. So we're going to drop it down just by taking the vertical axis point and dragging it down, and we're going to change the width from 400 centimeters to, let's say, 1,000 by 1,000. Let's make it 2,000 by 2,000. Okay. It's good. Might be too big, but alright, so we want to put a material on it, and obviously if we look now, we just have this dull square. So we don't want to put ice, obviously, because the Seahawks have nothing to do with ice. The only reason I used ice here was because there's a hockey logo and the Whalers and whatever. So let's get I don't know. Let's search for field turf. No, that won't be good. We're gonna search for grass, and we'll go to images. And we want a high quality image. Let's do this or this, huh? That's pretty cool. Which one? No. Let's go with this guy. So I'm going to save image as, put it in the logo folder, and we'll call it grass. And then we're going to go back to Cinema 4D. We're going to make a new material, and we're going to double click in here, and for the color, instead of picking a color, we're going to go down here to texture, and we're going to click on this big long bar, and we are going to bring in the grass. And then we're going to do we're going to try and give it some texture so it looks a little bit more like grass. So we're going to go to this bump channel here, and we're going to check the bump channel, and we're going to add that same grass picture. And now if you watch this at 20% strength, it really doesn't show a whole lot. But if we jack that up, you can see how it's starting to make it look like it's three-dimensional a little bit. So that's good. We will X out. You know what? We could turn the reflectance. If we turn the reflectance off, maybe. Might have to come back and add that back. I'm not sure if the light will shine off of it. See, if we don't have any reflectance, we gotta do that. I don't think any light will show off of it. So, because every material in the world has some sort of reflectant to it, or else you wouldn't be able to see it. So we're gonna try this, and we're just gonna drop this, drag it onto the plane, and drop it. Now, if I render this now. It looks kind of weird, right? So we're going to click. You see how it added the material over here? I'm going to click on the texture, and then down here, I'm going to make it. You can change how. Right now it's just projecting onto the plane, so I want it to be a little bit narrower, like smushed together in both height and width. And then another thing that I want to do is I'm going to make this seamless. There we go. So I'll check seamless and render that. That looks a little bit better. And it will look better when we add the light. So now what I want to do, I think, is get straight on with this. Let's add the light. Alright, so if you remember back at the beginning of the year, I talked about 3-point lighting. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to add some 3-point lighting. Actually, we're not going to add 3-point lighting. I lied to you. We're going to just add a couple lights. So on this light bulb over here, I'm going to click and hold and bring up some different options. The first one I'm going to add is a spotlight, right? So I add the spotlight, and I'm going to Control Z that real quick. Right now, the scene is just being lit by like just like a, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, a fake light, like a generic light, I guess. Right, like you can see this reflection of this generic light, and it's not very good, right? So we want to add our own light. So once we do add any light here, it's going to get rid of that generic light, and then the only light in the scene will come from the lights that you add. So I add this spotlight in here, and it goes completely black. If I render this now, see it's black because the spotlight, if I rotate around here, is showing behind it, right? So I'm going to click on this light, and I'm going to bring it, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to bring it straight up, maybe a little bit higher, straight up, and you can see it's still facing backwards. So I'm going to rotate it. So in order to rotate an object, I'm just going to click on this rotation tool. Now I can rotate it by the same 3 axes points. And now if I want to rotate this facing down, it's going to be on this axis point, right? So I'm going to, if you want to do it manually, you can. I can click and drag it up, and there it is, right? Or if I want to, I can Control Z that. If I want to do it accurately, if I click and hold on the axis point first, then hold Shift, and then move it, it will go by tens, right? So I just want to rotate it 90 degrees. So there's 90. Now, if I go back to where like the camera is going to be, somewhere right here, and render that out, you can see that's kind of cool looking actually, but you can see it's not properly lit, right? So I'm going to go up here, click back on this light, and you can see down here these points I can control the spotlight. So if I click on the outer ring, any one of those dots in the outer ring, and just drag away to make the light a little bit wider, and then since it's straight down, I'm going to go back to the move tool. Right, I'm on rotation right now. Back to the move tool, move it out in front a little bit. Now you can see it's lighting up the logo. Not a lot though, because that was kind of cool with it blacked out. Okay, and now if I go back to where that camera is going to be, render. There we go. Now that's starting to be a little bit cooler. I think what I'm going to do is take this plane, drag it down a little bit so the logo is up. There we go. Render that. That's cool. And I think take the light, rotate it just a little bit more, and move it out, shine just a little bit more light on it. Position that in the center, render. Alright, that's pretty sweet. Now, what I want is for there to be some shadows, right, cast by this light. Like right now, this object, this logo here, should have some shadow, like the light should create a shadow from it. So we have to tell it to do that. So if I click on light and go down to shadow, you gotta mess around with this. I'm not real great with the lights, but I always try soft, shadow map soft first. And you're not gonna see, whoops, Control Z. You're not gonna see anything here until you render it. So if I render, yeah, see it creates, that's awful. It's like just too dark, right? So maybe I turn down, I think I remember what I did here. See how we have that shadow here? I turned down the intensity, but then this wasn't very well lit, so that's why I added another light. So if I go back here and crank down the intensity to like 60 something, it's still really dark. Really dark. So, well, I am going to add another light in the scene anyway. And this time I'm not going to add a spotlight, I'm going to add an area light. And I'm going to pull that back, maybe off to the side a little bit, and rotate it so it's facing it. It's hard to see in this view sometimes what you can do if you want to really see it. You get these 4 other views here. If I zoom out here, I can see the light from over top. So if I want to rotate it so I know it's facing, and then I can make it bigger, and we're definitely going to turn this light down because it is bright. Let's see what that did. Might be too far zoomed in. Oh, that's better actually. But now, see, that light's too bright because I'm seeing the edge of that plane, and that is not what I want. I could just make the plane bigger, but it's going to project the image that I put on the plane bigger. So let me just try and turn this down a little bit. Let's see. Might have to leave it up and just make the plane bigger. Make it like 5,000 by 5,000. And you see how this got bigger, so I don't want that. I have to go down to like 20 maybe. See how that looks. It doesn't look awful. You can still see the edge of it. I'm going to turn down this light a little bit to like 60. Shadow's gonna get darker. That's okay. That's not awful. I don't hate that. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is add a camera. And if I click and hold on the camera up here, now let me just say it's gonna automatically add the a 35mm camera, and you can change it to a bunch of different types of cameras: wide angle, super wide lens, telephoto lens. But before I get into any of that, right now I'm not in the camera. You see, here's the camera right here. When I click on this, now I've set the camera. So now anytime I move up here, like I was moving around the scene earlier, I'm moving the camera when I do that. So if I want this to be the view, always, right? Like this is where I want the view to be. I can still move around the scene without affecting the camera, right? So I can click out of the camera and I can move around here and say I'm working on some detail or something in here. If I click back to the camera, it's gonna go back to where I left it. You just have to remember, if you wanna move around the scene, click out of the camera, do your moving, move the lights around or do whatever, and then go back to the camera view. All right, so I'm in the camera right now. Let's animate. Sometimes I animate the logo, sometimes the camera. As you saw here, we just animated the camera, right? The logo stays and the camera like animated around it. I think I'm gonna do that again with this logo. I don't know of any great animation I could do with the Seahawks logo off the top of my head. It's not like too in-depth. We just want to keep this simple. So maybe it would be cool to like zoom out from this eyeball to like reveal the logo. Oh, you know what else would be cool is to make this eyeball glow a little bit, right? So you can, this is easy. So if I go back into the material I use for the eyeball, double click it, and I go to glow, and I check the glow. The default here, you can change all of this stuff, how much it glows, how big the glow is outwardly, the inner strength of the glow, the brightness of it. We're going to, I hope it doesn't make it white, I really hope. Yeah, it does. We're going to change that color to, we're going to go back here and 102, 189, 41. We're going to make the glow 102, 89, 41. No, that was not it. What did I say? 102, 189. You dingus. 102, 189, 41. Here we go. So that is the color now. X out. It should just update. We'll render. See what it looks like. The outward strength of that glow is kind of stupid, I think, for this particular logo. So I'm going to turn the outer strength down to like 100. Guess I could just type it in, eh? And we're going to turn up the inner strength to like, let's try 300. Let's see what that does. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Alright, so now we're going to zoom in. We're still in the camera view, so when I move up here, I'm moving the camera, and that's what I want. I'm going to zoom in to the eyeball so you don't even know what you're looking at. Right? Let's see what that looks like rendered out. The closer you get to the detail, the more longer it's going to take to render. Alright, that's cool. I have no idea what that is. I might even be able to start like in, like really close up. Like here. What's this? If I render that. When I say render, I'm saying this is what it's going to look like when we export it. Wow. My computer's starting to make some noise here. Well, okay, that's sick. We're going to start with that. Okay, so let's talk about animating. This is where I want the camera to start. So what I'm going to do is make sure the camera is selected. I'm going to go to coordinates, and I'm going to click all of these points, right? So I have all the axes, right? So the x-axis, the y-axis, the z-axis, and then like how it rotates. So I'm going to check all of these. So this, I'm saying this is where I want it to start. Now the reason it's called Cinema 4D I know we're working in 3-dimensional space here, but the 4th dimension is time, right? So we have height, width, length, and time. So right now our timeline is 90 frames. That's 3 seconds, right? If we're doing 30 frames per second. So with the playhead started at 0, when I checked all of these things, it made this little blue keyframe, right? So at 0 frames, the camera is going to start right here. That's what I'm telling it. So now look, watch how easy this is. I'm just going to pull back, or no, I'm sorry. Before I do that, I'm going to move out to, let's see, 2 seconds, right? So 60 frames. And now I'm going to pull back. Maybe we want it to be longer, huh? I'm going to pull back and I'm going to center this thing up. Okay, and now you see how these turned yellow or orange. These are the only axis points that I've changed. I haven't rotated it or anything. Like if I rotated it like that, see how these things move? I don't think I can go back now. But yeah, I controlled Z. I'm just gonna pull back. Move over here. I don't want to go too far back. That, and I'm going to now, since these are the only things that have changed, these are the only things I have to click on again. So I'm going to click, 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 and that's set another keyframe there. So this is the animation. If I take the playhead back to 0 and then hit play, that's what the animation is going to look like. And it's a little too fast, right? So I can take this keyframe, click on it, and just drag it out to 90. And let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that's cool. So now this is gonna have to be a little bit longer than 3 seconds because I don't want it to just end right here, right, and then go to black screen. So if I want to make this timeline longer than 3 seconds, I'm just going to increase the frames down here. So let's add like another 2 seconds. Another second, right? So 30 more frames, that gives us 120. And now I just have to pull this out because right now I'm still only seeing 90 frames. So if I take this and pull it out, now I can see the whole 120. So here's what the animation is going to look like. Sweet. Now that's it. I think we're done here. Yeah, and if I wanted to rotate this, like if I wanted to change this, right, I just make sure the playhead is right on top of 90, make sure I'm on the camera, and let's say I wanted it to go like over here, which would be, or let's say I wanted to do another move after that, like 110, I rotate it here and pull back or whatever, just showing you that you can do more things. And I check all of these. Here's what the animation looks like now. It's kind of weird. Yeah, that's really weird. So I'm going to delete this. I'm just showing you that you don't just have to do a straight pull back, right? Like this one, I did some rotating around the logo and then a pull back. Okay, it looks like we are done with step 5, lights, camera, action. So once you have your scene lit, you have a camera in there, and you have some sort of animation. The animation will work the same with the logo as it would with the camera, right? Like you just make sure you're clicked on the logo, and you can set the playhead to whatever, check all of these axis points, and then move the playhead out, and then move the logo and rotate it and do whatever, and then click the ones that you changed, and that's how you keyframe the logo, same as you would the camera. Okay, so you are done with step 5. It's raise your hand to let me see what you got, and I'll put it in the grade book. Step 5 done.